All right. Well, I have never in my life inspired someone to actually paint an entire army based off of one painted figure, so that is incredible. So, seeing that that leads into armies naturally, why don't you tell us about your 40K Hammer group?
Okay. Right now, we have a small little gaming group that meets in my house every other, or twice a month, every other Saturday. And we play in my kitchen. Initially, it started out as 4 guys. Me, Serpentis, Lichfowl, and he changes his name, but you guys would probably know him as Lord Cassiferous, as I say. But it's Cassiferous, but I give him heck because I kind of say Cassiferous. We are, I would say, lifelong friends. They weren't my high school buddies because they went to a different set of high schools, but they're my true friends. They're the ones that you meet and you don't give them up. And
Gotcha.
it was interesting how I met them. But those are the 4 initial members, what I call the core of Hammer 40K. And we started playing, and after a while, we were like, we love the game. At the time, we weren't called Hammer 40K. We were just, a bunch of guys. But we all played MMOs and D&D and all those games together. And every time we played an MMO, we always had our own guild called Hammer and Anvil. Back from EverQuest up to Warcraft, we always had a guild called Hammer and Anvil. Even in my LARP days, we had a Hammer and Anvil, and then we had a different one called the Silver Phoenix, which here pretty soon you're going to be seeing that show up in the 40K universe as well. But we didn't know what to call our group. A lot of people think that the Hammer 40K represents Warhammer and 40K, but it really doesn't.
That's totally what I thought.
No.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't. The Hammer part just so happens to be part of Warhammer, but it is actually part of Hammer and Anvil. Because we were going to initially call ourselves the Hammer and Anvil gaming group, but they just like, no, we need to change it up. So we were throwing around ideas, this and that, and so we decided, we went, okay, let's let's divide it up and somehow throw 40K into it. And they said, well, why don't we just call it Hammer 40K? And I'm like, well, people will get that confused, which apparently some people have. But it stuck, and so we started calling ourselves Hammer 40K, based off of the guild Hammer and Anvil. And initially I was going to do a logo that had our Hammer and Anvil symbol on it, but I never got around to it. And if some of you may have seen some of my old banners that I did for my YouTube channel, I had a Hammer and Anvil production in it.
Oh, wow.
That was before I lost my videos, because that's initially what we were. We were Hammer and Anvil. After we decided on a name, we created our own little forum just for us, which is still out there, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to give that out because it's just for the group. But I do have my own another Hammer 40K forums. We were having a blast, but we were constantly playing each other, constantly. It was the same person over and over again, so we wanted to increase our game group. So we went shopping around and tried to find some other people to play with us, and we found some, but they didn't last very long. Different people here didn't last very long. Then, I don't know if he has a YouTube account, but we found somebody that lives in our area that apparently was a subscriber to me.
Wow.
And, actually, yeah, he does. What am I saying? And that was Jeremiah Drigg. I'm sorry.
Jeremiah, yes.
Yeah, a lot of y'all know Jeremiah. He was the first one that we found. Okay? And he sent me an email saying, hey, dude, I didn't realize you lived in my neck of the woods. Can I, come play a game with you? I said, sure. Then about that time, Solid Smurf contacted me. Now,
Small world.
Yeah, Solid Smurf is a great guy. Grayson, his name is Grayson. He's a great guy, but he's not really part of the Hammer 40K group. He's like an associate. He comes over and plays every now and then.
Cool.
But they came over both of them came over on the same day, and they played us. We liked them so much, we asked them to come back. Well, Smurf accepted the offer, but not on a regular basis. So he just comes over whenever he wants to play, which is fine and dandy. But Jeremiah actually not only accepted, but wanted to become part of the group. So he was the first addition to the Hammer 40K group. And he's actually starting to, if you haven't watched his blogs here recently, he's actually naming his blogs Hammer 40K blogs as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Then we found 3 more. Tobin, Chris, and I believe his name is Mike. They live in the DFW area as well. They don't have a YouTube account that I know of, but they were a long-time watcher. And they found Jeremiah, and then through Jeremiah, they knew who I was, but once they found Jeremiah, they didn't realize I lived in their area. So they came over, so we added 3 more. So now
that's awesome.
So now we have 8 people in the group, which is about max capacity for my house. If we get any bigger, we'll have to find someplace else to play, and then that doesn't go well because all of the core group have kids.
Oh,
So,
difficult, big time.
Well, we'll be playing at our game day. We'll have a game day at our house, and I'll have Mabel and Ethan there. Then Lord Cassiferus will have his 3 boys there. Serpentis will have his boy there. So, and they're all crammed in my son's room playing, or out in the backyard while we're playing 40K.
Wow.
So
That's a tall order right there.
Yeah, so adding more people to the mix would be difficult, especially if those people had kids.
Gotcha.
But I am opening my house on July 18th to anybody who wants to come for a terrain day.
Yes, I heard about that. As a matter of fact, you had a subscriber who is Swedish in Japan saying that he would have loved to have come over. Mm-hmm. And I was so impressed by that. I instant messaged him. And I ended up he ended up becoming a subscriber as well. But it was just it was so bizarre seeing the word Japan anywhere involved in a comment. So very cool.
I've had a lot of people interested in it, but most of the people that are like, they're basically saying that, oh man, I want to come, but I can't. And I understand. And I didn't expect to have a whole bunch of people. It would have been cool. But I understand why people, can't come. Like one of the people that really wanted to come, but he just said he didn't have the money, was Christopher from AG Productions.
Isn't he a great guy?
Yeah, he wanted to come, but he just didn't have the finances to come. So it looks like the terrain day, which I'm still going to make videos, is just basically going to be the Hammer 40K group, which is cool, and we'll make pictures and stuff like that. So. And get you guys, but my dream, I shouldn't say a dream, one of the hopes of this was not only to get it to be bigger, that maybe it could be an annual thing, and as it gets bigger and bigger, actually not have it at my house, have it at a center or something, and people just come and it wind up not just being a terrain day, wind up one day becoming a tournament, painting contest, almost like a con.
That would be fantastic.
But let it grow at
Sure.
first. But I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's a dream.
Tell me about the area around where you live. Is it pretty gamer heavy or is it pretty gamer light?
I would say it's pretty gamer heavy, but it's underground. Basically.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a lot of gamers in the DFW area, but you got to find them. Once you find them, it's like, oh my God, I didn't know this was here. And yeah, and you'll find them at the local gaming stores, but pretty much the local gaming store in our area is Lone Star Comics. There is
the evil empire you were referring to?
They're not really. I wouldn't call them an evil empire, but nobody has been able to, that I know of, compete with them. They're everywhere except for Grand Prairie. There's one which is where I'm from, there's one comic book shop in Grand Prairie that has been there for 20-something years.
Wow.
And Lone Star tried to go into Grand Prairie, and they got shut down. But other than that, they've got a hold everywhere else. But Lone Star just doesn't do comics. They do everything.
Got it.
While the comic book store specifically caters to comic books, role-playing games, and card games. He doesn't do anything 40K. He refuses to do anything 40K. I've tried him to get it, but he just won't do it. But to each his own.
Sure. God, so many directions to go with this. I'm going to stop this right now because we're going to find another interesting topic.